Cartoons. Everyone has at least one that they enjoy. What modern adult doesn't still watch the occasional Disney movie? While others find themselves at a smorgasbord, filling their plates with all they can and eagerly coming back for more. Young and old, I haven't found anyone who can't say they have at least one cartoon character they absolutely love. And that's what today's video is about, celebrating the differences in animation. I asked my followers to send along characters for me to fill out the 6 Fanarts challenge, giving no restrictions. To be perfectly frank, this ain't my first rodeo. I did this challenge last year actually, but I enjoy pushing myself out of my comfort zone, or whatever current obsession I have. Cough, cough, been pinching word girl, cough. So this was a welcome challenge. So, without further ado, let's get started. Whew. Oh boy, that intro took a bit out of me. But yeah, I know that this is kind of a bit of a different format going on here, and I was just thinking that maybe this would be a better idea for longer videos like this that has, well, for one, took a bit of a project for me to do. Like, I think this altogether was actually 12 hours of recording. Most of that ended up just being because of how many characters there were, but also in general, I just tend to be very slow at inking, very particular at things. Everything has to like have a certain look to it and like line thickness and stuff, and I tend to get slightly on the anal side with that. But yeah, I was thinking that for the most part, future videos, if it's like a one character thing or whatever the point of the video is, I'm probably gonna keep it just being the more relaxing music playing speed paints. But at stuff like this, I think I can be allowed to kind of do voiceovers and talk about stuff. Probably theme it a bit more. Because like, I know there's video ideas that I want to do. Like, I want to do talking about my Pokemon team that won the Pokemon League for Sword and Shield. Mostly because I've been wanting to draw them. Mostly my Galarian Slowpoke, because Mimsy's a cutie wootie and I love him. I love him so much. Also my Appleton. There was a lot of good Pokemon in that actually. But no, that's not the point of this video. Stuff like that, like Animal Crossing. I know in the future I also want to do a video that's very much I want to say like pretty much just kind of gushing and talking about my love of like Darkwing Duck and stuff like that. You know, the things that I clearly like it. But yeah, for this video, like I said in the intro, I asked my followers on Tumblr for like characters that they would like to see me draw, and I got a pretty good selection. There's quite a few characters I haven't drawn before. Like Rolf, I actually used to draw him like a few times back in I want to say it was 2008, maybe 2009, like that area of my life, that time in my life. But yeah, I used to draw him a lot when I used to hang out on I scribble with people. If anyone here remembers that, used to be a program kind of like Agio is now, where you can draw and chat with your friends at the same time, and you can all draw draw the same picture if you even wanted to, or you can just doodle all over the page and do whatever you wanted. It wasn't the best program, but it was pretty much MS Paint. But like at the time, that was like the only thing that was really around, unless you had the whatever that hosting program was, where you had to, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was a bit complicated. And I remember I tried that a few times, and that just did not work for me. I never had like computer that had like a processing power for it, plus the internet would be a bit on the spotty side, but that was like better. Like that had more, it had more layers for one, but not so much anything. This is not the point of this video. I was kind of trying to talk about the different shows that came up. But yeah, the Rolf Muppets. Yeah, I used to draw him like a few times back in the day, so it was a nice challenge to be able to come back and see how I would draw him now. A lot of it is just me trying to do a mixture of Muppet Babies, the 1980s one, not the new CGI one, whose style is kind of unnerving to me, but I won't say more than that because it's not fair for me to really judge it without having fully seen it. But yeah, it would be a mixture of Muppet Babies, which I really like that style. It's like the same style that they used to use for the different Jim Henson picture books that were out back in the day. I don't know if anyone else even knows what I'm talking about. But there used to be a whole bunch of different books for kids that usually had like either talking about a subject like Elmo rides his bike, or Ernie counts how many rubber ducks he has. But there was also a few, like especially with the Muppet series, Muppet Baby series, excuse me, where it would be a bit more like personal relationship stuff. that makes it sound like they like, oh, Miss Piggy and Kermit, like they got into another lover's squirrel at like 5 years old. But no, I meant more like, oh, my friend hurt my feelings, what do I do about this? That sort of stuff. Like, very, very good things that kids kind of need to learn about. Like being able to express, like, hey, what you said hurt me, and also just learning about communication or things like that. Yeah, so like that, with the way I drew it, it's kind of a mixture of that and I want to say, I guess my style. I tried to like keep it. I don't know. I tried to keep it so that the shapes and stuff made sense, because like drawing a Muppet like one for one is kind of the same as drawing people. I feel like when you try to do realism, you have to kind of know what to omit, or else it starts getting into like creepy territory. But that's just kind of in general when you're like drawing from like real life rather than cartoons that has like model sheets and like direct thing that you can see and interpret. No, and like the creators already did the work of simplifying things for you. But yeah. I like how that hand turned out. I tried to make it look a little bit like fluffy, kind of like how the Muppet hands look in real life. You know, the real Muppets. I don't know why I'm like criticizing what I'm saying. I meant in the sense of when you actually see the Muppet like face to face, the physicality of it, rather than like, you know, my best friend Rolf. Sometimes he plays the piano for me. I guess after that, I'm gonna talk about The Simpsons. Kumiko is a character that, like, I like her. I mean, she's one of those side characters. I mean, there are other side characters I prefer a lot more, like Mr. Burns and Smithers, because, you know, I'm shipping trash. But yeah, she's nice, and I think they did a very interesting thing with her and Comic Book Guy. But I will admit, in the case of Comic Book Guy stuff, I kind of thought his relationship with Skinner's mother was actually, like, I liked that more. I thought it was funnier and, like, and on one hand, like, it, you know, it freaked Skinner out, because it's like, my mother is with a man who's like my age. Excuse me. And I don't know, and just like, I can see like how unsettling that would be for people. I'm sorry. I just like there's like a scene in like one of the like older Simpsons episodes of the two of them like just in bed making out, and I'm just imagining how many people like actually watching the show was like, haha, I'm in danger. It's so stupid. And I'm just over here like, this is uncomfortable. Haha, I love it. Okay, enough about the show itself. Let's talk about the style. This was actually kind of hard for me to do. I've drawn Simpsons fan art a few times before. Most of the time it was just me drawing Mr. Burns, but with this, Kumiko has a different problem of, she's kind of a bit more realistically proportioned, I should say. I mean, of course she's not, because she's still a cartoon, she's exaggerated. But in comparison to like the bus driver or Comic Book Guy even, like her features are very much set in place, and it becomes a thing of if anything is off, then their whole face looks off, and then it's just you don't have a good time with it. So a lot of that was just me going back and over again, just adjusting things until it looked right. And so it was like, I have fun drawing Simpson stuff, but it's just for this challenge when like everybody else was like easier for me to do. She, on the other hand, she took the longest. Let's talk about Cat Scratch real quick. First of all, does anyone even excuse me, does anyone even remember this show? Yes, I'm waiting for the answer. Yeah, it was one of those weird shows, kind of like along the lines of, I want to say like Cat Dog or Ed, Edd n Eddy. Maybe, no, I won't say Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, but it's one of those shows that is really odd, but I also really enjoyed the weirdness of it. And not only that, but Mr. Blick was like, to this day, is still one of my favorite characters. I'm gonna put up on the screen sometime here in editing and show that, to the point when it comes to Mr. Blick, I actually reference that style in my own art with my own characters, like with Marilyn LeSnoop. Just those very erect, pointy ears that are like a mile long. And I don't know, it's one of those things that like I constantly think about that, because it stood out as being a very interesting style choice. And so even if like no one remembers that show, it's still something that like I very much hold on to. I wouldn't say it was like my favorite show of all time, but it's, like I said, it's stylistically speaking, it's something that I think about. I think about their shape language. I think about Oh, excuse me sorry about my throat. I know I should probably just be more professional and stop recording and redo things, but I kind of want to keep this a flow of consciousness, and right now it's raining outside, and so my voice is kind of excuse me, going in and out of cracking. What's cracking? My voice. What's cracking? My face. Sorry. Like I said, this is very stream of consciousness going on. But yeah, so it's something I think about when it comes to style and shape language, is what I meant to say with Cat Scratch. And here we have Uncle Iroh, who's legit one of my favorite characters, but I'm sure that surprises no one because, you know, A, everybody loves him, but 2, any people that actually follows me knows that I have a older person obsession. I just think older characters are a lot more fun to draw. They have more, I was gonna say more personality, but that's not quite what I mean. Because to make a character look older, you add more detail, and I think that as a artist, that's something that's like fun for me to be able to kind of just like scribble different lines here and there in order to show an age. Whereas with a lot of characters, the smoothness can be unsettling. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of, unsettling. And so yeah, with older characters, you have a bit more going on, and so they're a lot more fun to draw in. There was something else I was gonna say. I think I was gonna talk about just Avatar in general. Ended up being like one of those shows that I felt like was pretty groundbreaking, not only for like Nickelodeon itself, but just for animation itself, for being able to kind of show the idea to like networks that, you know, kids can actually enjoy something a bit more episodic. I won't say it's the first show that did it, because I want to say that Gargoyles from Disney Afternoon was a bit more episodic in nature, and that was like years before. But I think when it comes to like modern day, this would be slightly before Adventure Time, if I'm getting my years correct. So like, I don't know, I'm happy about that, because I think that's good for it to, depending on the story and what type of story you're writing, it's always good to have the ability to tell an overarching story. But I will say, I kind of wish modern shows these days would allow things to still be pretty episodic. Mostly because nowadays, I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like when I'm picking up a new show to watch, it almost feels like a commitment of time. In the sense of like, I can't just jump in at any point and start watching. In order to be able to follow along and understand what's going on, I need to start from the beginning. And then because it's a story, like, it becomes a thing of like, okay, I need to set time for this. This needs to be the series that I want to watch right now. And at least for me, I don't always have the brain power for that. No, that's not quite what I want to say. That makes it sound like, I'm too dumb to understand what an overarching plot is. That's not nice. I shouldn't go with the southern accent. But no, it's more stories kind of have this thing where it's meant for you to be invested. And to be invested, you feel things, and that makes it so loud. Sometimes I do not want to feel the things. But that's not quite it. It's just, I don't know, sometimes it feels better to do something where I can kind of turn all that off and just like go on YouTube and watch some cat videos, or go on YouTube and watch like art videos like Drawfee and stuff like that. Something that's like partially comedic, partially relating to my interest of art and stuff like that, and seeing how people do things. And it's something that I can just spend like 15 minutes watching, and then like put it to the side and not have to think about it again. I think we kind of need that every so often. Just the idea of things existing and not having to mean something more. And I say this because of the fact that a lot of times when I'm like watching bigger shows and stuff that I know that I'm going to be fully invested in, because I'm a fandom person, that's how my brain thinks about things. It becomes a thing of like, oh man, I need to make time to think about all this and want to make stories, or want to like draw fan art and things like that. And sometimes it's just like, if I'm enjoying what I'm like currently doing art and stuff for, it's like my brain just sometimes goes into this mode of like, I'm not ready to move on yet. I'm still in this relationship. I'm still invested, It's like we're still pretty committed to each other. And so yeah, that kind of like factors into when I'm like watching things. And so that's kind of like why episodic things can appeal to me a bit more. That, and I like the idea of like having things continue but not have to affect the next plot completely. Like, it doesn't have to be like, what happened after this? A show that I think of that kind of fits along that line is the Penguins of Madagascar show, which I really loved. It did this thing where everything was contained to itself, but they would do callbacks. And so like, if you actually watched that episode, it just ended up being like a bonus thing. It's like, oh hey, this thing from this episode still like applies. It's not like it just went into the void. Like, it allows for some slight character development, which again, it works in the sense of allowing you to just jump in and being able to enjoy the episode. But then for people who are like actually watching every episode, it becomes a thing of like, oh hey, my commitment here, it's being like paid forward or something like that. There's payoff. There we go. That's what I meant to say. Ooh, looks like we're getting to the end. So with that said, I think I'm gonna start wrapping things up. Thank you all for the suggestions and for staying around and just, chilling with me as you watch the process of this. And I think in the future I'm gonna for these sort of videos probably ask some questions for the audience ahead of time, relating to whatever subject that I want to talk about. And so look forward to that. And in the comments, feel free to tell me if you like this format, or you think I should go back to anything else, or give any suggestions, really. Feedback is good. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I would enjoy having help. And with that said, sorry, I'm getting distracted by that. Look at those values. That's a good thing to do, is just adjust with colors and things to try to make everything look harmonious in the end. But yes, with that all said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end and watching my videos. If you would like to check out more, feel free to click here and over here. But until then, stay safe. Snark out!